It is Nsquirt Sports, and we're back with a sudden video. Actually, we recorded some videos about the Rockets earlier, a couple days ago, but we scratched that as soon as we found out about the news of Westbrook being traded to the Wizards for John Wall and a first-round pick, the 2023 conditional first-round pick with a bunch of conditions behind it. But the Rockets are getting a good amount of picks, or a good first-round pick. Nick, let me hear what your initial reactions are on this trade.
Yeah, this is crazy. I was actually at dinner with my family, and I just looked down and checked my phone, and I'm like, oh, that just happened, just suddenly out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when Westbrook got traded to Houston the first time around, it's the same situation. I was at dinner with my family, and I looked down, and it just randomly happened. So the Rockets make very sudden moves. It's very interesting.
Yes.
So I'll give my first takeaway. I mean, this is literally recording this like what 2 hours after it actually happened, something
Maybe
like that.
less, yeah.
Maybe less. So I probably will have a different opinion in the morning than I do right now. But we're gonna go based off of what I think right now. I'm gonna say I think it's almost a wash. I really don't know who wins this trade. Off the bat, I would probably say right off the bat, the Wizards win the trade just because I think it puts them in position to make the playoffs now in the East. I think the East definitely is worse than the West, but the East is still very competitive. It's just not as competitive as the West, and I think the addition of Westbrook, you know for sure what he's going to bring, and you don't know for sure what John Wall is going to bring. So I think that for the Wizards, it makes you think that the Wizards are almost guaranteed to make the playoffs now. It might not be a high playoff spot, but I think they were for sure to make the playoffs. I think on the Rockets side of things, they were going to make the playoffs anyway if they had Westbrook or John Wall, but I don't know if this moves them up to that 2 or 3 seed like we had talked about in our other video that y'all won't see. But we had talked about them being like a 4, 5, 6 seed, and possibly reaching up to the 2 or 3. But now it's like, does this make them favorites for a 2, 3 seed, or does it just keep them where they were before? Because the first round pick we know is not until 2023, and it is lottery protected. So that means basically if the pick falls in the lottery if the Wizards are a lottery team, which they most likely they might be around that range, then they would get, I think it would roll over to the next year. I'm pretty sure is how that works. And then something would have to happen then. But if it falls outside the lottery, I think lottery protected is top 14. So if it fell to 15, then the Rockets would get the pick. So things have to happen for it to work. And lottery protected pick is it's the highest protection almost you can get. So it's really more like a possible first round pick. It's not even technically a first round pick until it actually happens. So for right now, it's basically a John Wall versus Westbrook swap. And just the unknown of John Wall makes me think that the Wizards won this trade. However, I think John Wall, if he returns and he looks 90% of what he was, I think he can be comparable to what Westbrook was. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I don't really think we can say that there's a winner. I feel like we know what we're going to see from the Wizards, and it's just going to be normal Westbrook, and sort of like how it was in OKC. His floor is like an eighth overall. Eighth in standings. There we go. Woo. Westbrook's going to do that, and he's good enough that he's going to do it. And Bradley Beal showed himself as probably a top 2, 3, I would say top 2 shooting guard in the NBA, and one of the elite scorers, averaging 30 points a game last season. I've seen Westbrook work with that with Harden last year in the top shooting guard. So I think for the Wizards, we sort of know what we're going to get. And Westbrook is going to have that 72-game season, I think, compared to the, 84, 86 normally. So I really think this helps Westbrook because there's not going to be as many games he has to play in. For the Wizards, they aren't winning the championship, So to me, I don't really see why they did it, because Westbrook's contract and John Wall's contract are literally the exact same, pretty much. Slight, like 100,000 difference. It's not that much. So I really don't see the issue. But then on the Rockets side of it, I love it, actually. I really love it. Okay. So, I mean, I've been looking up John Wall for the last month or so, just because he's been rumored to the Rockets. So I was like, okay, I want to see what I'm actually like. Should I root for this? Should I not root for this trade or not? And honestly, I love it. All the reports coming out about John Wall is that he's looked as good as ever. He's had so much time to rest. And yeah, he's been injured and he's been recovering from injury, but he's had such a long time that all other little injuries that he's had and everything else is healed up. He's ready to get back into basketball. It's been 2 years. He may not be as bouncy and as athletic as, like, when he first came in, as his explosion. But I mean, all reports, all video clips show that he is just as explosive as he was whenever he left the league. And the same point and argument that I made for Westbrook having 72 games can apply to John Wall having 72 games. He doesn't need to play every single game. We saw that with Westbrook. John Wall's also a better three-point shooter, which is, to me, he is. I mean,
but
it's compared to Westbrook, which I believe is a 24% three-point shooter. John Wall's a 30%. That makes a difference.
Maybe
I'd significantly rather John Wall.
Oh, trust me, I hope so. I hope he's better, but I just don't know.
I think they're pretty comparable, honestly. Like, he's a worse rebounder, but now that the Rockets actually have a center, sort of, and Christian Wood, I'm a lot more fine with it.
Yeah.
I think the rebounding for the Rockets is still going to be a struggle next year. They're going to need to work something out, and that was going to be an issue with Westbrook anyways. I think that's the biggest if, but I like the three-point shooting a little bit more, and I think John Wall, I honestly think he's going to be better than he was, than Westbrook was on the Rockets. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I'll say one other thing, actually two other things. One, John Wall, when he was healthy, was pretty much the best assisting point guard in the NBA. He would average like 11 assists a game in his, like, I don't know exactly when, but I know he had seasons where he would average 11 assists a game and lead the league in assists. So he definitely is a good passer, as is Westbrook. But I think John Wall is, while he is ball dominant, he definitely is a very good passer. He might not be the rebounder, but he is a good passer. He definitely is explosive. He's basically Westbrook with a little better passing, maybe slightly better three-point shooting, and worse rebounding. That's basically what you're trading for. You're just hoping that the upside, that he's younger, you hope that helps a little bit. And the other point I wanted to make was DeMarcus Cousins, who the Rockets got, John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins were teammates in college at Kentucky, so they're going to get to play together again. That might not make a huge difference, but I know that they know each other and they're friends, so at least that'll help their chemistry, and it might help DeMarcus Cousins play a little bit better, having John Wall there. So
you definitely can't, like, I feel like we already know what the Wizards are gonna look like. I really don't feel like it's gonna be that special. It's gonna be what we expect. I don't think there's nothing that we can't predict. It's gonna be what it is. The Rockets are such a mystery right now. We know Harden's probably gonna average 30 points a game, and I feel like it's a pretty safe assumption. And the Rockets have a new coach. Like, people don't know what the Rockets are gonna look like. When you have Christian Wood, Harden, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, and John Wall, that's an interesting starting five, with Daniel House and some others on there and some other younger guys. You can't really point at what the Rockets are going to look like, but the offense is definitely going to be different. The offense is going to be it's going to be different. It's going to really be hard to actually predict until we actually see what Steven Silas actually does. I'd expect John Wall to play about 60 games. The only reason this deal will be a loss for the Rockets, in my opinion, is if John Wall re-aggravates a bunch of injuries. But I don't expect that to happen to the level that he did recently. I'd expect sort of a Westbrook level of injury proneness of he's going to miss 20% of the games, 15% of the games. Also, based off of playoff stuff, John Wall has been better in the playoffs. That is another argument that I've heard. He's actually, when he was in the playoffs, not like he wasn't in a lot, but he averaged 20 points or 30 points and 10 rebounds a game, and one of only 5 plays or assists. Sorry,
yeah,
he was one of the only only 5 players to ever do that, and had the highest sample size ever. I think 11 games he did that. 11 games, 20 points, 10 assists. That's insane. That's really good numbers. So my thinking is the Rockets want better passing. And I think they're going to succeed at that. I think it's going to be a lot less iso ball. I think Harden's going to revert to the shooting guard role, and John Wall is going to be a pure point guard. That's what my guess is.
And one more thing before we end this. So we made a video that probably won't come out, or 2 videos that probably won't even come out either. Maybe they will, but I just want to have this caveat before y'all see them. We made a playoff prediction for the West and Eastern Conference that is now going to probably change for both of us with this deal. So if you want, talk about how you think the Wizards impacts the Eastern Conference playoffs and how the Rockets will impact the Western Conference. Just so when y'all see that video, you won't be thrown off if we even post it.
I think the Wizards, that's interesting because we talked about the East, and I remember when we talked about the East, we were very like, oh, there's this clear set 8 teams. And I was sort of pro Wizards. I was very pro Wizards on that. And you're like, I don't think they're getting in the playoffs. But my question is, I don't know really who's getting kicked out of the Eastern Conference.
I know. It's hard because really for me, it's like I want the Hawks to get in, and I think they will. But now with this Wizards, it's like they might be fighting with the Wizards. So it makes it hard.
I think they're going to be fighting with the Pacers and the Raptors, if I was going to guess.
It's interesting.
And the 76ers, maybe. I think it's going to be sort of I think it's going to come down from like the 5th seed to the 9th seed. I think those guys are going to be really clumped together on the East. That's how I see it. Yeah. On the Western Conference, I don't think it changes the outlook of where the Rockets are going to be. I think they stay the same. I don't really like the Rockets. To me, are a 6th seed team.
That's fair. Yeah. I just think with this trade, it doesn't boost them up at all, but it doesn't make them not a playoff team. Like, I don't know, but
I feel like their ceiling and their floor. I actually feel like their ceiling is higher with John Wall, but their floor is just slightly lower, but not enough to be like they're not a playoff team. That's how I see this Rockets trade. And it just, in my opinion, all it does for the Wizards is it just bumps their ceiling up and bumps their floor up just a little bit. But the Wizards are a 7 to 9 seed team, unless I see a lot of their younger stars explode, which we saw a little bit of it towards the end of the season, and some of their guys like, oh, they got good potential. We really don't know what we're saying besides Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook.
So I guess that'll end this video. So that was our quick reaction, not so quick reaction to the Rockets and Wizards blockbuster trade.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. Watch our other videos that we posted. We're posting a lot more frequently now that we're both back home from college for the break. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.